Heteptu, Namaste, Runefer. May Buddha bless you. Grand Rising. This is Kasank Keperu with another exciting video for you. And in this video, we're going to be talking about making money in movies. But before I do that, I want you to hit the link button below, or I should say, not link, but like button below. And if this is your first time to my channel, welcome. Hit the subscribe button to get notifications on when I go live and when I upload recorded videos. If you want to know more about my spiritual teachings, you can scroll down and click on a free ebook. Download the ebook today and start reading. However, if you want to follow that rabbit or that ferret down the rabbit hole, you can sign up to be a Patreon supporter for as little as $1, $5, or $20 per month. You'll get exclusive access to instructional videos on the esoteric, videos that will teach you how to meditate, proper breathing exercises, how to do self-hypnosis to curb negative habits, and so much more. So become a Patreon supporter. Last but not least, share this video with family and friends so we can get this revolution started. Harun Nefer. So I got some special guests with me today because we got to talk about a very interesting subject, and this is going to be a good one. And let me bring them on. First, we have Grace the Great. She is my production manager, story editor. And then we have the Bofan the Beautiful. She's here as well. So these guys here are from my production. And if you have any questions for them, please feel free to chime in. So I wanted to talk today a little bit about making money in the movies. And the reason why I want to cover this topic, of course, I'm shooting a feature film called Companion, which we'll get to that. But there's been so much focus on rap music. Everybody wants to be a rap star. Everybody's got a track. I'm walking down the street, people are handing me their tracks. I'm like, look, I'm not in the music industry. I can't do anything for you. But we overlook the music industry. And one of the reasons why we did that was because prior, it was very expensive to get into it. I mean, when I went to film school, we were cutting on actual film. Now everything is digital and the cost has gone down. The independent production crew is now not as extensive as it used to be. And it's a little bit cheaper to get into film and make your own film, start your distribution company. And I want to point out that have been a number of people who got into the movie industry and made a lot of money. People you know, such as like Tyler Perry, Master P, who just went in there on a very ultra low budget level. And made tons of money. One of my favorite filmmakers is Sam Raimi of The Evil Dead. I remember going to the theater to see his movie Evil Dead way back when, and obviously you could see it wasn't a low budget, but it was very, very entertaining. So we need to start to refocus on things. I had a conversation with a professor at the, Harvard University, and we started getting into financial things like Bitcoin, stock market, and we were talking about different things, and he was giving me some tips on stocks. And one of the things that we need to consider, because I see now a lot of people are really on this Bitcoin or the cryptocurrency trend, is start looking at diversifying your portfolio. So if you're going to do stocks, you're going to do cryptocurrency, look at doing movies as well, because if they're successful, it could be a high return. But also with that, if it's not successful, you could lose a lot. That's why there's an old adage in the film industry: you never put your money into a film. You go out and you seek investors and banks, which is one of the things I learned, is that Hollywood is run by Wall Street, banks, which finance their films. But anyway, enough of that. Let's talk about my new film that we are producing called Companion. And this film's a very unique film because it has a couple of themes in it. As you know, my films are about world building. So this film takes place in a parallel reality, and it deals with AI, artificial intelligence, and where is that going? You know, and in the film we have a young character named Adam who is trying to perfect this AI, but he's running into trouble, and basically because he's dealing with demons in his personal life. He was abused by his parents, and he lost his older brother. So he's trying to work through all of these things and build this AI. He hires a project manager named Evelyn who joins with him, and together they're able to create this AI, which is Ma'at, the goddess Ma'at, the Egyptian goddess Ma'at. And she is known, of course, for balance, law, and order. And she brings to Adam and the startup crew not only order to this parallel world, but healing. which is an important point, and we need to take that into consideration in the world that we're in today because it's so darn crazy. I mean, this world is really crazy, and people don't think they need therapists, they don't think they need healing, but you do. You need to think about your mental health as well as your diet. Make sure you're getting exercise, and what you're putting in. If you're watching TV and you're watching reality shows, that's not a good diet, and ultimately your mental health is going to suffer. But so this film Companion, it's really groundbreaking in the sense that we're doing a lot of effects with it. Not only special visual effects, but it has great props. As I told you before, it takes place in this parallel reality, which is kind of like the future of ancient Egypt if it were still around. So with that, I just want to first talk to Grace. Grace the Great, can you give us a take from your perspective on production management and tell us exactly what that is?
So this is my first time as a production manager. It's been a really awesome experience to be hands-on with casting and finding crew members and being the other person on the interview and being able to interview people and see who's a good fit for the film. It's been a lot of work, but it's been really rewarding so far. We have come a long way in a very short amount of time. We had basically a month to prep for the movie, and we have everything ready to go. Bofan's amazing. So her and me like working together has been super incredible, and she's taught me so much about contracts. I'm pretty much a lawyer now. And yeah, the story is great because it really blends mental health and this concept of utopia mixed with AI, and I like that concept. I haven't seen it done before. Um, I don't keep up with movies very well, which is hilarious because I'm in the movie industry. But yeah, it's something I've never seen before. So that's exciting for all of us. And yeah, it's just been a really awesome experience about coordinating people and working with a bunch of personalities and making sure that we can all get it done for the greater good of the story. So it's been really great to be on the producing side of the movie world.
Grace, why don't you tell them what your task was originally when you came onto the production? I had wrote a 200-page script. I trimmed it down a little bit, and I sent it to both you and both fans was like, you got to trim this script down. I said, I don't know if I can. And I gave it to you, Grace, and talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we had to take the script from 120 pages to 75. And it was, I don't want to say it was easy, but once we really established where we wanted the story to go, making those cuts was super simple. But it did take like a week and a half, and we were all like, how are we going to get this done? How are we going to turn this 120-page script into a 75-page script? That's a lot of things that you're cutting. We had to cut several characters, we had to cut several scenes, and I know I'm also a writer. It's hard to like give up parts of your child, your baby, but Ron did it. And we got the script down to 75 pages so that we can shoot it in 2 weeks within the budget.
Can you talk a little bit also about the casting side of it? Because that has been very interesting as well.
Yeah. If you're going to go into casting, try doing anything else first. It's it's long hours of people will still email me and ask me questions about like stuff from 2 weeks ago, and I'm like, baby, you didn't get the part. Like, I don't know what you want from me. So it's hard to have to break people's hearts because the industry is so tough, but then also having to find the right people is hard because you have an idea of what you want, and when you can't find it, you can't compromise. So then you have to just keep looking and looking, and you're posting all the time, you're taking self-tapes all the time, you're sending out sides, you're writing new sides, you're watermarking, you're coordinating with people's agents sometimes, and you're coordinating with actors, you're coordinating with people who haven't done this before. So then there's a little bit of coaching depending on our project, where I'm doing a little bit of that because it is an independent film. So I feel like it's fair to like give people who haven't done acting before a fair chance. And then in terms of Zoom auditions, you're sitting all day in a Zoom room, just reading for people and then having them read to you, recording it, organizing it. So it's a full team of work. And we just been doing like a full team of work basically in like a week.
Now, I was actually talking to some people on social media about Reva from Star Wars, and I was trying to explain to some people about casting according to type, or not everybody's right for a particular role. And a lot of people, they forget that just because you can act doesn't mean you can do every role. You know what I mean? And I point out, like, Christopher Walken is an actor I love, but he wouldn't be great playing Superman. You know what I mean? And we know Christopher Walken can act. So you want to talk a little bit about that?
For sure. We found so many great people and we have cast most of the movie. Um and it's been a fun process when the puzzles piece finally comes together, it's really rewarding. I think making sure that you have found every possible audition possible is the hard part. Um and there's a lot of people that we found who would be great for several roles. And then we have to figure out, okay, well, how do we want this character to be portrayed? How do we want this character to be portrayed? Who's gonna jive with this person? How are we gonna make sure these people like chemistry? Like, is that gonna work? So then it becomes a game of like some game where you do a lot of these things. Um, you can let me know what game you think that would be. But it's just a bunch of organizing pieces and making sure everything fits together really well. And so we've had some auditions like that where people are really good. And then we're like, oh, we can cast you as like three characters, but we had to pick one.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to talk a little bit about the relationship between Adam and Evelyn going into this, but I want to jump to Bofan, um, and talk a little about producing this project and producing in general. Can you give us your perspective on that?
Yeah, definitely. This film is a 9 million indie feature film, and we're shooting in New York. And right now, we got so many amazing talents confirmed and attached to this project, and locations are all confirmed, and like most of the equipment are already confirmed. So mm, this journey has not been easy, but we got so many great people who are willing to help our productions. And 90 of the production is ready, and we got Grace, who is helping the creative side so much and trim down the script so well. And Ron himself got a pair of like great eyes, and he built up such an interesting world and many like interesting characters inside. And and plus, we are a team that shares really great tactics, and it's been a fun process. And uh, I hope that we can bring the story to life with your support.
Mm. It's interesting. I've worked on a number of projects, and sometimes you get along with people, and sometimes you don't get along. And I was lucky to find a team where we all have chemistry. It works, and you know, these guys are really good. They're jack of all trades, and they also are very, very specialized as well, which is very hard to find people like that. And I'm very lucky to find these two, Bofan and Grace, because they've come aboard and worked very, very hard, a lot of hours to work and go out there and get professionals for production. And I want to give those who are interested in making a film this advice, that you don't want to skimp on hiring good people, because it'll show in the film. You want people who are really good in their craft, good makeup people, good wardrobe people, good props people. And that's what Bofan was able to do. And along with Grace, to go out there and get the best actors, and that takes a lot to keep digging and digging and finding really good actors. And I want to go back to that question, Grace, about, can you give us, and I can talk a little bit about this as well, but can you give us your take on the relationship between the characters of Adam and Evelyn, which is really Adam and Eve, but that's, if people pick up on that.
I like that metaphor. It feels like I don't want to give anything away, but it does feel like they both find each other in a place where they end up learning how to love themselves. And whether the relationship works or doesn't work isn't the point of the story. And that's what I like about good storytelling, is when you find out it's like a twist of events, and either way, whether they're together or not together, you're happy because they both learned how to love themselves. And that's what I really like about their relationship.
Now, the one thing that Adam is battling with is past demons, and I think that's important because a lot of people have things that they've gone through in their life, but they've never really had closure on those things. And in this film, Adam plays, well, Adam is the character who was abused and also is carrying that weight on him, and he's unable to let it go. And through Evelyn's help, he finds a way to relieve himself of that past burden. And that's something I think that, again, there's nothing in society that talks about that. It's always about acquisition of wealth, being flashy, but never about, hey, you know what? Take care of yourself. Really spend time with yourself to understand who you are and deal with those things that you may still have, because they also come up in relationships that we form in life. They don't necessarily get triggered when we're by ourselves, but when we get with somebody else, they seem to surface, and then we tend to project and blame it on that person. And then we go from relationship to relationship and we find, oh, it's still there. And this character of Adam is that type of person where he's sleeping with different women and he's afraid to make a commitment because he had issues when he was growing up. And when he resolves those issues, he's able to make a commitment in a relationship and move on with his life. So I think that's a unique point to the film as well. And I always like to combine science fiction with that human element, because too many times we get into the whole sci-fi thing and you have, the lasers or whatever, the lightsabers, but not that Star Wars is like this, but there's lacking the human element. And this is one of the reasons why I like the original Star Trek, because when you watch that, what Gene Roddenberry did was to merge sci-fi with a human element. So everything in there actually deals with contemporary issues like racism, prejudice, things of that nature. So those are very important, because I believe that the heart, I see a lot of independent films that don't have something at the heart of it. There was a film that me and a friend went to the premiere of, and the reason why it attracted me because it had good cinematography, good acting. But when we sat there, we got bored because there was nothing to identify with, and it seemed like the characters were just going through the emotions, and that kind of hampered it. So it's very important to just say what's in it for the audience. How are they going to identify with this piece? And sometimes that can be creating a proxy character. This proxy character can stand in for the audience as this character goes on his journey. It's like what we know as the hero's journey, and George Lucas really borrowed a lot from Joseph Campbell in structuring Star Wars and his story, which is why if you look at the original Star Wars, it's full of archetypes. Obi-Wan, the wise old man, you have Yoda, the same thing. Han Solo, the older guy who's showing him the way, and Princess Leia's like the damsel in distress type thing. So it's full of archetypes, and that's how audiences were able to identify it. Even the Swiss psychologist Carl Jung talked about the importance of archetypes, how they are buried in our collective consciousness. And when we see a good film that contains when we see a film that contains those archetypes, to us, we translate it as a good film, not knowing it's really just appealing to that collective consciousness of archetypes. Like the divine mother goddess, you'll see that in some of the films as the matriarch of the family, things like that. So if you're going to write a story, just keep that in mind. Not that your story has to conform to that, because there are stories that break the rule, and still they're great stories. One of the things that I studied very early on was Charles Band, and I've showed this book before, who just wrote a book called Confessions of a Puppet Master. He started a revolution on VHS video with his direct-to-video movies. He started his production company from very small beginnings, and it became a multi-million-dollar company. And this, of course, is A Toxic Avenger, Lloyd Kaufman, who I've worked with, and he financed my first feature film. And the reason why I bring this up, because it's funny, these two guys are like competitors, actually. I was talking with Lloyd, and he was saying, of course, we're better than Charles Band, so a little bit of competition there is always good. So anyway, this is something that is an opportunity for individuals who want to get in there, start a movie company, start a production studio. You don't have to have a lot. You just start small and work your way up there. Now, in the interim, we want to finish our film Companion. We want to get it out there. So if you guys are looking for a place to invest your money, we offer an investment opportunity in our film where you can receive profits, and we can talk about that in a one-on-one, because we would love to do a pitch for you. So if you're interested, I'm putting the link in the description box. So just click on that link and it'll take you to a page where you can sign up to get more information and hear about the opportunity of investing in this movie, because it is a wonderful, wonderful project. But I want to go back into and get some perspective from producing from Bofan about what it's like to take that journey into the world of producing, because it's a lot of ups and downs. And I think it's a very interesting world outside of music and, you know, traditional other things you may get involved with. So, Bofan, can you give us your perspective on what it's like to be a producer?
I mean, like producing a project is always like solving problems and on different like, specific stages, and it's like playing video games. You have to like get through this and that and beat the monsters in the game, and then you win the game, and then go into another chapter. So for this production Companion specifically, we started with Grace already being on board, and she started chaining down the pages of the production, and we tried to make schedule together, budgets, and step by step. Then we confirm the talents, start crew recruitment, and then we start to confirm locations, like all this kind of thing, insurance, and if there are like special needs in the script. For example, we got a puppet in the script, so we had to like talk to animal handlers and get a cute dog for our production, like this and that, and then we confirm the casting and crew, and then we get their food restrictions, and we started like order caterings, and it's like really like step by step. This is not easy because there are so many incidents happening along the way, but you really have to be a problem solver and multitasker as a producer, and you have to provide physical support, emotional support to all your teammates, and trying to be the big brain in the project, and try to be calm and supportive along the process, and just solve the problem and get this project done.
You know, it's both. It's funny, and I'm sure you're aware of this. I wrote in my script 2 things in Hollywood they say you should never work with: animals and children. Yeah. I'm going to go for that. I'm going to write that in the script because I like difficulties. Okay, so that's another thing you want to keep in mind is like, don't put too much in your script when you're doing your first film. Like, don't put like a hailstorm or a tornado. Like, how are you going to pull that off? You know. But I went for the full effect. I said, okay, we're going to do green screen too. We're going to do all this stuff. And I'm like,
yeah.
And then Bofan goes, you know, we need more money. I'm like, oh. I said, okay, we're going to have to ask people for help in investing in this, because it is, it's my version of like an indie Hollywood film in a way, because, you know, this is the thing. Now we can do some incredible stuff. CGI is accessible to independent filmmakers. And I never see, you know that, Bofan and Grace, I don't see many indie films using CGI. And I want to talk about this. Lloyd Kaufman, who financed my first feature film, Bugged, you know what I did with that? This is back in, I think it was 1994. I went and had CGI done. And that was expensive, and it was the first CGI in the indie film. So if you check my film Bugged out, my feature film, if you look at the end, there's a part where I'm in the film and I turn into a bug. It's really cool. So that's the very, very primitive CGI from back in 1994. Of course, since we've got a lot better and smoother now with all the faster computers and all of that. But you know what? It's funny that I chose this AI thing too, because I didn't realize how big of a deal it was. There's like groups talking about how they're opposing AI. And then there's talk about AI emerging with humans. What's it called? Transhumanism or something like that, where computers are now are being hooked up with human mind, where you can just think something and it appears on the computer screen. And people are afraid of that because they're saying that the government can tap into your mind, they can hack your mind or whatever. But it's an interesting debate. I'm reading up on that subject, and I think I mentioned to you too as well that Google had launched their own AI, Lamanda, I think it's called, and it's sentient, so it's operating autonomously. It has the mind of a seventh grader, so you can talk to it, interact with it. The only thing that they have to keep it from doing is making racial epithets. I don't know how it got to doing that. That's very weird, but it seems to have a propensity for saying some things along those lines. And that's another thing that's one of the things I had to really look at. And Grace was nice enough to, and Bohan too, point that out to me, was that, I'm from the old school of filmmaking where, there was a Steinbeck, I cut on film, we had the old style tape for the sound guy. And I'm writing my script, and I have to keep in mind about being sensitive, because it's like you have now identity politics, SJW, and there are various different groups you don't want to offend. And I don't care. I was like, I'll offend everybody, but they're like, no, you don't want to do that because that could have some really, really bad repercussions. So I'm like, okay, well, if we have to take it out, I'll take it out. First, I was a bit stubborn. I was like, because let me tell you something. If you guys go to Trauma's not only is it a minor studio, and they're producing a Toxic Avenger. It's a minor studio that most independent films kind of pass through, and their experiences they talk about are great. My experience was excellent, but what Trauma does is they push the envelope. So I learned that coming from Trauma is like, okay, you got to push the envelope, create a little controversy, and talk about your film. It's not a bad thing. So, but times have changed, Toxic Avenger, the original one, came out way back when. I forgot. I think it was like the early 80s. So now the sentiment and the feelings of people are getting hurt very easily. So I don't want to do that. I don't want to, like bash anybody's cause or hurt their feelings. But I still want to address things in a way. I want to talk about things that we're not talking about. And to me, one of these things about dealing with the inner demons, the childhood trauma, dealing with estranged relationships, because Adam, misses his brother, of course, and dealing with his relationship with his doggy. That's important. Animals are very, very important. And I don't know if I told you guys, we had, I got in trouble with was it PETA for Bugged? They called me because in Bugged, we have little bugs, right? And in one scene, we actually squish a bug. It was a rubber bug, of course, but they called us and they wanted to know if we had hurt any bugs in the making of the film. And the bugs were actually crickets. And I said, are you kidding me? Are you really calling me to ask me if we killed any crickets? They go, yes, they're living animals or living creatures. I was like, oh, okay, no, we didn't. So then they called we had a cricket wrangler, and they called him to verify. And I was like, oh my God, they're making a big production out of this, And then they called me back and they said, well, next time you make a film, consult us first so you can there's a PETA stamp that'll go on your credits. And that's their stamp of approval. I was like, oh, I didn't know that. I said, cool, I'll do that next time, So you gotta be very, very careful if you're dealing with animals, and making sure that no animal gets hurt or anything like that. And we actually talked about that. There is a making of Bugged, and Lloyd Calton from Trauma talked about that, about how we got into a little thing. And I also did a commercial for CNN where they wanted me to take a handful of crickets. And put them in my mouth. I was like, oh, I can't do that. No way. That's I don't want those things jumping in my mouth. But I had a stud guy who did it. So you'll see my hand go in there and pick up the crickets, but it is not me doing that. But those are the kind of things that I love working with Trauma because, again, you're pushing the envelope. And Lloyd is really good at teaching young filmmakers. So you learn hard knocks and how to deal with a very, very ultra low budget. So again, as I said, he's producing the big budget version of The Toxic Avenger, which is cool. So anyway, any final words before we close out? Grace?
Thank you for your time. We really appreciate you joining us today and talking about the film, and we really hope that you can also be a part of it and help us finish it.
Yeah.
Both
Sorry.
hands? Both hands?
Same here. Like, we've gone this far, and we just really need your help at this moment. And everything's ready, and this film's gonna be amazing.
So I want all my supporters out there and my followers out there, check out this opportunity. And if you're in a position to do so, invest in the film. Also, if you're looking to get your own film started, I am available for any tips, tricks, and techniques that you may need. And it's not as expensive as you may think when you're first starting out. I advise you start out doing a short film and then progress from there. But the main thing, and this is what I even learned with project management, is no man is an island, or no man or woman is an island. You need a good team. You know what I mean? So if you can get a good team, you can do anything. And I mean that. So I want to thank my team. Oh, wait, I may have a question. But anyway, I want to thank my team, both Ann and Grace, for just doing a lot of hard work, you know, and hey, I want to thank Mike for joining us. Hetepu, Mike, how is it going? Let me just hold 1 second because some people are joining, and everybody always joins late. Are you guys good? Buffan, you good? Yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah, I want to talk. I went to a lecture at Columbia University. How is Columbia University? I never attended any classes, but just one lecture. How is it for you? Study film there, right, Buffan? How's the film program? Because I always hear the NYU boast of their film program, but how is Columbia?
Columbia is more like producers also have to learn how to direct, how to write. So in the first year, there are 3 concentrations: writers, directors, and producers. We have to attend classes together, workshops, lessons.
Oh, your mic is going in and out.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you good. Go ahead.
Yeah, so like in the first year, we have like 3 concentrations: producers, directors, screenwriters. We have to attend workshops together, write scripts together, give notes to each other, and then after each semester, we have to shoot like big projects together, short films. Yeah, so on this in the second year, we kind of like go to our own concentration, and producers learn how to produce and budgeting, scheduling, using all the softwares that Hollywood people are using, and finance your films, like specific details, like how to set up your LLC for your films, how to talk to attorneys, and how to read contracts. And it's more like, well, I've learned a lot at Columbia. And after this program, we are able to get a lot of portfolio, a very, very good portfolio for each of us. And then we start to go out and present ourselves as a like director, producer, screenwriter. Yeah.
You know, I was on a YouTube panel discussion and talking about LLCs, and I was trying to tell the guy about it, but he didn't want to listen to me. But just a funny story that kind of relates to just forming a corporation and getting your insurance together, which is very important for film. When I was shooting Bug, we were shooting with an actress. She was like Miss Hawaii. And the cameraman has set up right here, like this close, right in back. And I told her all she has to do is scream because she was seeing the bugs. I said, whatever you do, don't back up like that. Don't back up. Just stay still and scream. So I said, action. She screamed, ah, and backed up, boof, hit the camera lens and knocked herself out on the floor. And I just sat there going, I'm getting sued. I'm getting sued. That's all I can think about. I'm getting sued. I said, let's pick her up and take her to the hospital. So we picked her up and she came to, and she didn't want to go to the hospital, right? But she kept feeling the back of her head and didn't think it was bad. And we're looking and we're seeing this big knot. And she's like, it's not bad, right? I'm like, no, it's not bad at all. She said, let's do the next take. I go, maybe you should just sit down for a while. So it was funny. She actually turned out, it was good that she was okay, but you never know about these things and how they're going to work on the set. So it's always good to take care of that producing side of getting your insurance. And we've had a good attorney and a good accountant. So that is prescribed if you're going to do it the right way, to make sure you're going through those avenues. And also, when I went to film school, and I have a certain perspective on my experience. Like, I didn't think that going to film school was really worth it for me, because I started out at the High School of Art and Design, and my major was film. So going to a university studying film was just like a repeat for me. I was like, this is a waste of time. But everybody has their own opinion of whether you should go to film school or not. I know Robert Rodriguez, everybody knows him for El Mariachi, talks about how he just learned by picking everything up. But he's a tech wizard. So, I mean, Bofan, what do you think about that? Film school worth it? I'm putting you on the spot.
Definitely worth it. For myself, yes.
Okay. Because when I learned project management, I just read books and I picked it up. When I learned coding, I just read books and picked it up. So I'm the kind of guy who learns better on my own. Because when I went to film school, I was so shy. And they were talking about, oh, you got to work with a crew and all that. I'm like, that's not happening. I was like, so what I did was I did an animation project where it was just me, and I was just stop motion animation. So I didn't have to have a big crew or anything like that, because I did not like working with other people. That bothered me. And then when my professor approached me, he says, you got to work with the crew. So I hired an outside crew and not the students, and he got angry. And the outside crew I hired were people I knew. Like, I knew a lighting guy, and these people I knew for years. And he was like, you were supposed to hire the students, not people outside. So I really pissed him off. He didn't like me. So that just a little funny anecdote there. But hey, listen, thank you guys for watching. And these guys are great. If you're making a film and you want to hire them, talk to them. They are awesome. I can validate that. Last words, Grace.
Again, thank you for your time. We want to finish this project. So if you're able to help with that, we would love to have you on the team. This was awesome. So yeah, thank you.
Bofan.
Yes. So as a producer, before I choose scripts, I think it's always very important to choose your teammates first. So Grace and Ron they have both been such a trustworthy collaborator. So I wish to make it happen for all of us.
Oh, there was one thing I forgot to ask you. Thank you, Bofan. One thing was, what's next for you? What's your ambition? Where you want to go from here, Bofan?
You mean my next project or my plan?
No, just your goal. Like, what if you're like in 5 years? Where do you want to be?
Well, because I'm born and raised in China, so I was thinking it would be good if I can do some international productions between the countries. And
oh, that'd be great.
Yeah,
that'd be great. What about you, Grace? Like 5 years from now, what would you like to be doing?
I would love to be in a place where, if I have to have a day job, that like it's a fun day job that I enjoy, or like just being creative is my day job, that I can tell my story and then help other people tell their stories through TV and storytelling, specifically filmmaking.
Good. My ambition is not to be as like popular as George Lucas, but to make a film that really affects people, that they talk about for years and years and years, like a 2001 Space Odyssey, like a Chinatown, like a Gone with the Wind, that people they don't forget that, I would love to do that. And I think that with all of our talents, we all will achieve that. And I have no doubt. So you guys, I discovered you two. Don't forget. Okay. Because when you're big time, I'm going to pull this video out and say, hey, remember this? I discovered you guys. All right. All right. Thank you for joining. I appreciate it. So with that said, oh yeah, The Great Gatsby. That's a wonderful film. I love The Great Gatsby. You're right, Max. I actually watched it every now and then when I get a little depressed, and I go back and I watch that, and it kind of uplifts me because he was a person who really wanted to make it in life. So that was great. Thank you all for attending. And this is Kisak Ma Keperu, so the Ma'an Tuhudi. Ma'at is the beautiful goddess Heteru. Until my next video, Amun Ra.